One of the items that I admire the most about you is the retention of your femininity in the midst of ministry. Oftentimes, personalities who have been female and in ministry have felt the pressure to preach with a male construct and presentation. How have you managed that, and where have you found comfort that has resulted in the retention of femininity in your ministry?
The catch-22 would be that I had to find comfort in my gender. I can't preach like a man because I am a woman. My mother has consistently shared with me to just stay humble. Just stay humble. And so that aided me along the way. I have just, Reverend Howe, Reverend Drinks, they embraced women. They pushed the women. And so, to be honest with you, I didn't know I was a woman preacher growing up. I just thought I was a preacher growing up. And it was not until I came out from outside of the churches to learn that there was an issue with the gender. And again, I really don't fight it. I don't come up against it. I find comfort. I'm a lady in every sense of the word, and I intend to maintain that. I cannot out-preach a man. There's just some things that I believe. And when I say that, I mean I can't preach the way that men preach. I just have to give my presentation the way God has given it to me. And I'm grateful to God that with fans such as yourself, and I thank you, that I've been able to maintain. And I feel like a lady when I'm in the room with a group of the guys sometimes. One thing I can say about the Long Island Alliance of Ministers is that they have respected me. They'll be talking, guy talk, and they say, oh, there's a lady in the room, and they respect me, and they pushed my ministry, a great number of them. There are some who have converted and said, I didn't believe in women until I heard you preach. And I'm just grateful for that. And so I've just tried to maintain and stay cute, Bishop, along the way. I'm a comedian to my heart. I just tried to stay cute, along the way, and bring an honor to the office.
Bishop, you stand in the tradition of some rather phenomenal people. Iona Locke, Jackie McCullough. We recently lost Dr. Ella Pearson Mitchell, who has affectionately been called by Bishop Vashti McKenzie and Dr. Sujay Johnson as the queen of the women in ministry movement. Sujay Johnson says that while Gardner Taylor is recognized as the dean of preachers, right, Ella Pearson Mitchell is our queen. What do you feel the loss of an Ella Pearson Mitchell means, and what do you think her lasting legacy will be for people like yourself?
I believe the loss that we've suffered is a great one, because she is such an awesome pioneer in ministry. She opened doors for women ministers, those preaching women, and things of that, the books that she's written. And she gave several women opportunities to put a sermon inside, and you could just hear what they were made of. And I think that one of the downfalls that we suffer in ministry is that there's a lack of unity, and there's a lack of teaching and pulling people in. And one thing that she did for us was she always included us. She always included someone into what she was doing, and I think that she found the key. Her legacy, I believe, would be this. The key is that if you invest in someone else, you actually invest in yourself. And she'll go down in history in our hearts and our minds for opening doors for us, and she'll be forever remembered because we'll consistently preach and share in the manner wherewith she's taught us, in the past. And so I believe that her legacy are these preaching women that have come about.
Listen, you made mention of her books. There are 6 volumes, those preaching women. And talking about books, I'm real excited about your current release, A Drop in the Bucket. And we're going to talk about that in just a quick minute. But before we do, I want to pause because you have shared with us some photos of your ministry and your life. And I want to give members of our audience a quick moment to take a look at some of those things that you brought to share with us.
Holy, holy, holy Lord.
Listen, again, this is Bishop Andy Lewter, and I am your host for this segment, Pastoral Profiles. Our guest today is Bishop Stephanie Riddle-Green, who is author of the recent book, A Drop in the Bucket, and she is also the pastor of the Joshua Baptist Cathedral in Huntington, New York. I'm going to give her an opportunity to talk about her ministry in just a moment. But right now, Bishop, we want to take a quick moment and have you discuss with us your book. What led you in this direction, and what is this book all about, and why do readers need to read it?
I don't often talk about women in ministry, but I was sitting in a room full of male pastors. We were talking about women, some of the great women who had come about, and there was a phenomenal evangelist whose name I will not mention, but a phenomenal evangelist who was running around the globe preaching and making an impact on lives. And one of the preachers said, well, I believe she's just a drop in the bucket. And I thought to myself, I said, God, I don't want to go down in history for just being a drop. And so the book basically is teaching not just females, but males as well, that we're more than just a drop in the bucket. What God has put on the inside of you, who God has called you to be, preordained you to be, is more than just a drop in the bucket. It revolves around the woman at the well who meets Jesus at the well. The awesome part is that Jesus needed to go that way because he needed to make her vocal concerning who he was and what he could do in the lives of others. People need to read this book because it will teach you about looking for love in all the wrong places. It will teach you about how to honor God and how to honor Christ when you come into his presence. It will teach you how to go back to your past and say to your past, come see a man that's told me all the things that I've ever done.
Listen, your reference to love and relationship is a segue into the next item that I want to talk about. You invited me to appear on a radio program with you several months ago because there was a major incident that took place in the body of Christ. We're all familiar with that incident. It had to do with prophetess Juanita Bynum. And I don't want to talk about that incident per se, but I do want to talk about this. You made the point that there was a need for us to have a discussion so that we could provide light, illumination, and direction to the people who are in the body of Christ. Talk a bit about that and what that incident prompted you to share with a larger audience.
My mindset was, and it still is, that though we're leaders, we suffer. We go through trials and tribulations. We have children. We have husbands, we have wives, we have families who are not saved, we have families who are saved. And though we stand before you, and as you said in that segment, we appear to be sacred celebrities, we still hurt, we still bleed, we still go through. And it was my desire on that day to make it known to the broader audience that we should not sit and attack the prophetess or attack the bishop for what had taken place in their lives, but that we should pray for them. And we should understand that they go through just like everyone else goes through. And what I wanted to bring to the audience was prayer is important for the visionary and for the leader, and that your leaders will sometimes fall and make mistakes. Now, we are to walk worthy of the vocation wherewith we've been called, but the enemy is always present. The enemy is always trying to get in, and he gets in any kind of way that he can. And so it was important to me to share with the people. And then after we did the radio segment, to keep honing and polishing this one word, and that was that there's always an 800-pound gorilla in the room, but that we have to stay focused on what God has for us. And that also, if we changed our minds, we could change our thinking, and we could change our future. And if we did that, we can change the scope of the church, how it's looked upon, how people look at pastors and leaders and bishops and apostles and all of the different titles that have come about, how we handle them. There's some people rushing into some things where they have to, I believe, they should lean back and take their time and be molded, shaped, and groomed for it. And that was important to me to let the audience know that they're human. Things happen. You know, you may get married, your marriage may not last because the enemy could get in. You whatever the case may be, your children, I say to my church all the time, I'm your pastor, and whatever my daughter does, I'll pray for her, we'll pray for her, but that's my attitude.